Hi, good morning, and welcome to the ZP Developer Zone. So every Sunday at 8 a.m. London time, we like to do this webinar for the members of our ZP Developer Zone, and this is that webinar. So if I jump into it, one of the first things that we did this week was we did a very well attended webinar with the SRI, the Sariv Brahmanya Nadar College of Engineering in organised by our partners in India, Technando. At the time of doing this, we only did this webinar, let's say, on Tuesday this week, and we've so far had, at any one time during the webinar, we had something like, we actually ended with 60 views on the webinar. So it's one of the most successful webinars we've so far had, and we're very grateful to the professors, the university, Technando, and of course also the internal ZP team, who did a really good job on presenting at that webinar. So it was a very successful webinar. It's probably the highest numbers we've so far had, and a special thank you to the university and also to Technando for helping to organise that. So some other news from Zimmer and Peacock for this week is we also released a video about our Generation 2 lactate sensor. So what I will do there is, if you have a look at our website, so I'll navigate there anyway, but on our website, we've put out a new video with one of our engineers introducing and talking about a Generation 2 lactate sensor. We're grateful for the engineers for doing the work, and we also are grateful for the kind of feedback that we've also had on the video as well. I think it was very well received. So at Zimmer and Peacock, we have a couple of lactate sensors, what we call the Generation 1 and the Generation 2 lactate sensor, and we were delighted with the response of the Generation 2 lactate sensor. And whether you're interested in a Generation 1 or Generation 2, I think sometimes it's a good idea to start with a Generation 1 sensor. There's slightly lower cost. There's more processes involved in manufacturing a Generation 2 sensor, but both of them are sold, and whether I would recommend one over the other really depends on the budgets that are available from the team, and also what you're really trying to achieve. This is quite nice news from Zimmer and Peacock as well for this week. We're also doing some demonstrations at something called the Good Food Guide, which will be in the BBC. Sorry, it will be the Good Food Summer Show. Is a event organised by the BBC, and Zimmer and Peacock will be presenting there, and we'll be presenting our if you're interested in our chili sensor and you're interested in let's say being there. Also some other news from Zimmer and Peacock this week. We did that video earlier on, and we discussed that video earlier on about the lactate sensor. One of our engineers also, or another engineer rather, did a demonstration on our ketone sensor. So our ketone sensor, obviously for the measurement of ketones, people are interested in this kind of sensor for use in, let's say, diet monitoring, and also for diabetes. So we were delighted to sort of do a video about that, and we put that out also on the web. So some other news from Zimmer and Peacock this week is we've spent several days at a or we were preparing rather spend several days at a conference on diabetes. Now, as a build-up towards that conference on diabetes, we also did a we did a video about diabetes, the sort of underlying causes of diabetes, you know, and it was a fun, let's say, animation where we were trying to illustrate, you know, what insulin resistance is, and we sort of touched upon type 1 and type 2 diabetes. So, if you are very, very new to diabetes, then this particular, when I say new to it, new to the sort of the area, the subject, the science of it, then there is a nice video on the link to on the ZP website about diabetes there, and touches upon insulin resistance, and also talks about wearable sensors. I just want to say hi, good morning to Aftab. Nice to see you, Aftab. So if I just go back also, so some other news from Zimmer Peacock this week. As I said, we were actually at a conference this week, and so I wanted, and the conference we were at was called the ATTD. I mentioned it last week in the vlog, but this conference, for example, was in Spain. It's a very sort of professional conference around the subjects of diabetes. Myself and a couple of other colleagues were there, but it was what was nice about the conference is that the ZP team had actually brought together all the technologies that ZP has on CGM, on continuous glucose monitoring. So we touched upon what we call strip technology, which is sort of screen printing. So, you know, we do have screen printing glucose sensors. Then we talked about wire sensors that we have at Zimmer and Peacock. And from there, then we also then talked about the sort of next generation wire sensors, which are a lot smaller, a lot finer. So we did touch upon those. And then we also touched upon microneedles as well. At ZP, we do have a lot of microneedle technology as well. So I just want to say good morning to Ahmet as well. Nice to see you, Ahmet. So we had a good conference. We brought all the technologies with us, and it was very well received. And we also touched upon, Ahmet's listening this morning, so we also touched upon how small the electronics for CGM have become, and we showed a sort of a single board, which is, when populated, is a single board potentiostat. So yeah, that was one of the things that we did at Zimmer Peacock this week. We also whoops-a-daisy. We also did a video interview with one of our we have a lot of people, and one of the good ways of getting into Zimmer Peacock is to become what they call an on-call. And we often suggest that people join a course called SSI. I'm just getting some feedback from Aftab to say that the stream is not working. So I will fix that in a bit. So I will try and fix the fact that the streaming is not working. So in the meantime, anyway, we did a quick video about professional life at Zimmer Peacock, and one of our guys interviewed a person, or not a person, one of our uncles called Vu. Vu has a very interesting story. That Vu's story was that she wanted to join Zimmer Peacock, and she'd actually come all the way from Vietnam to do a course at USN, and in part she'd come because she actually wanted to join Zimmer and Peacock. So I would just want to kind of say that, you know, we do get a lot of requests to join Zimmer and Peacock, and it's really interesting how dedicated these, you know, Vu, for example, has been in order to sort of, you know, wanted to come to Norway. She wanted to come to USN, and she was also, motivated to join Zimmer and Peacock as well. So thank you for Vu and for Yaren for making that personal video about Vu's journey so far. We also did do our webinar on every week. We do a webinar on Thursdays for our members of our ZP Developer Zone. This webinar is meant to be a technical, or not meant to, it is a technical webinar. And this week we covered nitric oxide. We covered the role of potential in biosensing. We covered chlorate and chlorine dioxide. And we also covered sodium sensors with Arduino. We're using sodium sensors with Arduino as well. Because we were at the conference as well, we also discussed this week microneedles a lot. So at Zimmer and Peacock, one of the sort of newer technologies in continuous glucose monitoring will also be microneedles. And so at ZP, we were also able to cover and discuss microneedles. So one of the things that happened this week as well is that we were also invited by Swansea University. So we have a satellite office at Swansea University. The satellite office